Good morning, everybody. Folks still kind of rolling in. Give it another minute. So for today, we're going to do just kind of a basic roll call because we're going to do a bit of sharing out as part of our closing. So we'll just do a real quick roll call so we can see who's in the room, and then we'll move straight to public comment. We'll then talk about our task force report. We did get a couple of edits from Bettina. I haven't seen edits from anybody else. So when we get to that point, if you did have something you wanted to share, please be sure to pipe up. We'll talk about a little bit about what we know about next steps for this body of work, and then we have a little activity to close us out. I suspect this might end up being a little bit of a shorter meeting, depending on if we end up with more recommended edits than I'm aware of. But hopefully it's a nice, good close to our process today. So I'm just going to quickly call out names and just give me a here or I, so I know if you're here. Andre. Debbie.
I'm here.
Thank you. Mercedes, I'm here. Heather.
Here.
Thank you. Jonathan.
I'm here.
Tamara.
Also here.
Katrina.
Also here. Morning, everyone.
Morning. Danesh. Felicita. Bettina, I think, let us know she wasn't here. That's why we got her edits nice and early. Marianne.
Here.
Leah. Ellen.
Here.
Senator Campos. Or Representative Conrad.
Morning, I'm here.
All right, thank you all again so much for being here. Oh, hey, Leah. Thank you for giving us a chat and a chat check-in so we know you're here. All right, so let's go ahead and move to public comment. Do we have anybody here who would like to provide public comment? All right, we've got two guests, but I don't see anybody's hand up. Okay. Oh, and someone from Senator Compost staff. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, well, with no public comment, let's go ahead and move in then to our task force report and our recommended edit. All right, great, Leah. Glad you're connected. So as a reminder, we have two documents. One was our legislative required document, which was the 2-page executive summary. And then we accompanied that with a little bit of a longer report that has just a bit more detail in it, because the executive summary was limited to those 2 pages. I just want to again appreciate everybody's hard work in this. We did a little bit of math at our agenda planning meeting, and realized this was about 36 hours of work if you were just coming to the meetings. Add another 10 to 12 if you came to the agenda planning meetings. Add another 2 if you went to any of the subcommittee meetings, maybe a little bit more if you also did the project plan group. So lots of hours of work, and then about 600 pages of documents that we have collected and gone through together. So really incredible work. So here on our executive summary, you should have gotten this with your agenda. If you could scroll down a little bit, Amy. Okay, so this is where we had our first edit from Bettina. This one I think was really to help with some readability. We had a few too many words in this sentence, and so it was really just trying to consolidate that down to be kind of cut to the chase, a little more specific. If we want to scroll down a little bit more. These were a couple of other edits here. So one of them I think is important is when we were talking about our cost recovery and our advance payment, we had in the notes that the advance payment should be at the beginning of a new fiscal year. Bettina is offering that it should be at the beginning of the contract period. And so I think that makes sense, and that sounds like a good edit. But I wanted to open it up and see, does anyone have any concerns or red flags about that? Any hard reds or no's on making that change? And I'll give it a minute in case anyone needs to drop into the chat or needs to unmute. Lots of little thumbs up. Okay. So then we'll go ahead and make that edit as well. So at the beginning of a new contract period. And then right above there, so this is just kind of our introductory line that the task force, developed these recommendations to address limitations in wages for nonprofits. And the suggestion here, I think, is just to be a little bit more specific about where those changes are coming from and why they're needed. And so the suggestion was that we are developing these recommendations as a result of the current state of contracting and granting practices to address the limitations on wages and nonprofits. So just kind of adding that piece in there. If that is clear, for folks who aren't here, who haven't been with us, I think that's the kind of question that this calls, is like, is it helpful for the reader?
Would that go after actions and before too?
Let's see, if we read it out loud, the task force developed the following recommended actions to address limitations on wages for nonprofit employees as a result of current state contracting and grant practices. I think it probably reads better at the end, now reading it out loud. Does that make sense to folks? Does that feel important for the reader? Any reds or flags there?
I don't think it's necessary, but
I read it as a replacement. So the task force developed the following recommended actions as a result of current state contracting and granting practices, which would be a little bit broader than just the limitations on wages. And I think our recommendations are a little bit broader than that. So that's how I initially read the edit.
I did too, Helen.
Okay. So right after actions, that look right to people? I'm seeing some head nods.
Yes.
Okay. And thumbs up. Looks good, thanks. And was there one more, Amy?
Nope, I think you covered both of them. So we're all finished. Thank you.
Okay. So then we'll reconcile those and that'll be the final report there. We didn't receive any edits on the larger report, so we're going to call it good and done. I'll open it up one more time. If anyone has anything that they weren't able to bring to the agenda planning meeting that they want to identify now.
Can we just make sure that the edits that are to the executive summary are reflected in the main doc?
Yes, I don't know if there'll be necessarily a one-for-one because this was a much more condensed language, so we really rolled up a lot. I think
Well,
maybe the grant.
one page, page 5 is
Okay.
the exact summary recommendations on this page.
And okay, so then we're looking for that first opening line is the same there. Okay.
Yeah. Just for consistency. I think
Yeah.
the other page isn't duplicated, but page 5 looks like it's a carbon copy.
Correct. Both edits on this page are page 5 of the longer report.
Okay. Awesome. Does that look right to you, Amy? Are you able to find those?
Yes, I'll make sure that they match in the executive summary and the full report. We'll make sure to marry those up.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Heather, for that catch. Any other items like that or new things that we haven't discussed? Y'all, you're making it too easy. We're all going to get out of here so early.
It's because we already did all the hard work, right?
Yes, our past selves did our future selves some favors. Okay,
Who
so
actually wrote this? Because I just can't believe that we got to this place from where we started. It's so incredible. I'm so impressed with this group and with your leadership. It's been amazing.
thank you for that, Heather. So it was definitely a team effort. Lots and lots of thanks to Amy for really showing up. I dumped a ton of content in here and she made it made sense. So lots of thanks to Amy. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about next steps. So I will say this isn't going to be the most satisfying next steps I've ever delivered because some of it feels a little bit murky. So what we know is that we've got people who are waiting for this report, who are interested in seeing it. We have our legislative representatives here who I know are taking a look at that and thinking about what some of those legislative next steps might be. We know that the governor's office is also getting this report and is also going to take a look at what that might mean. And that's kind of the best I feel like I know. So there's like deadlines that are coming up, but we're not sure if all of this is part of those bodies of work. I think there's great questions. I think one thing that we did is we really organized this to show where we believe and understand there to be some administrative authority to try to do some of these things sooner rather than later. And so I think that that's the part that's a bit up to kind of the governor's office and her team on, seeing these promising practices that we know are happening maybe just in a corner of one agency and how those types of things get expanded. There's definitely, I think, going to be more opportunities to meet with elected officials and share your thoughts about this process and what you feel is most important coming out of this. Because remember, we didn't necessarily organize our recommendations based on our top priorities, right? We organized them for the reader to look for their leadership and what they can do in enacting these. So there's definitely, I think, going to be a lot of talk there. Amy or I'm sorry, not Amy, Debbie, or anybody else who might know more about some of the transmittal next steps or things like that. Debbie, I know this is also your first task force, so we're all learning a little bit, but if there's anything you can share.
Yes, normally the report would go back to the committee that, well, let me back myself up and say, oftentimes in the language of the bill, it will say who we are supposed to submit our report to. But absent that, it typically goes back to the committee that carried the piece of legislation. So I am working with our legislative coordinator. We're in a bit of transition between two coordinators. So, but we will find out best we can which committee this is intended for.
Awesome. And do you have any advice for us on how to follow that process, or anything that we can know now that we're all going to go back to just being general members of the public?
Certainly. Usually what happens is we have a cover letter that's pretty brief, like, you know, there was this piece of legislation, we had a task force, we might list the members, and then just say, here is our report, as required, here is our report, and then we submit it. In terms of, I'm not sure if you maybe are asking if we as individuals get questions about the work or things like that. Is that sort of what you're meaning as we go back to ordinary our ordinary jobs?
No, I'm
I
just
think our
wondering,
task.
like, does the website stay active? Will that close? Will I'm just kind of wondering if there are
Sure.
places we can look for next steps if they happen to happen.
Yeah, certainly. We will keep the website active, and I think that'll be important through the next legislative session, so that if anything does come up, we are. I mean, I hope something comes up. We are able to keep that active. Also, I would need to double check myself, but I think the task force doesn't sunset until the end of the year. Amy, do you happen to know the answer to that question? She may not. So we can look that up. But it seems like our report was due in September, but the task force sunsetted at the end of the calendar year. And I think that's in case there are any questions or if we need to come back together again after the report is filed.
Oh, great. Thank you. And to
Amy
just
says
add,
she's looking that up.
awesome. Thank you. And just to add a little info, so that committee where this was passed, that was the Senate Committee on Human Services. And so I think Felicita shared with us that Senator Gelser-Bluen was maybe interested in a presentation on this one. And that makes sense because that's her committee, right? And so like that's that connection back there. Representative Conrad or John from Senator Campos' office, if either of you would like to share anything, whether it's about this task force specifically or generally how next steps happen for task force, either way, I think it'd be information for us if either of you have anything to share. And unfortunately, I don't think we have Andre, so we can't ask the question of the governor staff there, but yeah.
This is Charlie. I'll go first. And, there are a lot of recommendations, there are a lot of things. And, as Debbie was talking about, as you mentioned, it is still kind of in flux of what committee it's going to go forward and where it's going to go and how many bills and all those kind of things to wrap up. I know NAO will be involved with this process and engage as well as a number of other lobbyists and folks as well. I mean, a lot of folks in here in your very specific sectors are going to have lobbyists that are going to represent your interests. And so I don't think it'll be a mystery. I think it'll be out there. And I mean, obviously, everybody can go to OLIS, Oregon Legislative Information System, follow bills there. You can sign up for alerts. You can get them going. So once we get the legislative concepts dropped, and once we know what committees they're going to go to, whether it's going to be the House side, the Senate side, what it looks like, and they get bill numbers, then you can start following them through the process. And undoubtedly, as we get going through the process, if we get public hearings or informational hearings, I'm sure folks in this task force are going to be asked to come provide some testimony, get your 3 or 5 minutes or whatever it looks like to be included in that process. So again, I imagine it's going to be a very integrated process, and it's going to, people are going to get contacted. And as always, you can just feel free to contact whoever in the legislature and ask them follow up. I mean, everybody has personal representatives. Everybody's got lobbyists. Senator Campos will be there. Gelser-Bluen. So there's going to be ways to get some outreach and some information to keep track of where we go with this, and what the outcome is in the long session. So excited to see how that progresses.
Great, thank you so much. Jonathan or John, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I went through the recommendations and kind of echoing Representative Conrad, but in a different way. A lot of the recommendations, in my opinion, seem more like within the legislative prerogatives of, what they want to create, like, for example, a permanent council, a wage-related board and such. So it's kind of more that type of decision making. DOJ wouldn't really be weighing in on it. It would be more like, for example, crafting the ORS or OARs that are more grant focused. We would be hopefully tapped as a resource to go through and say, okay, well, this will be harmonious with other statutes and rules out there and stuff like that. So those are just my thoughts from those recommendations.
Thank you so much. John from Senator Compost's office, did you want to share anything if you've been through these processes before?
No, nothing really from me. Just other than to echo Jonathan and the good Representative Conrad. But we hope to see you in Salem.
Great, thank you so much. And I definitely know that NAO is going to be hosting like a larger presentation to try to share with all of our other nonprofit friends. So if that's something that you want to attend or you want to know more about, please definitely reach out to him. And that's just our opportunity, I think, to share with other organizations who we know care about this issue, but weren't in the room with us here. All right, so I think we'll call that good on next. Oh, no, go ahead. Yes, Heather.
I apologize because I'm taking a step back, but one of the things that I just thought about, and I don't know how people feel about it, but on page 7 of the big report, it talks about the findings. And then on page 6, it kind of talks about who's on the task force. And I just wonder, and maybe this isn't the right place for it, but it might be nice if we appreciate all the state staff who've been with us, because we are appointed and we're recognized, and they're really not. And they've been a part of this whole process, and they've done a lot of homework for us. So I just was realizing, this doesn't feel respectful of their time. So I just wondered if there was a way to acknowledge it. I don't know if we can do a list of names or, I mean, they're kind of like the agencies are listed, but maybe there's a way to like throw a sentence or two in there, just like their commitment to doing the homework and, being engaged in the process was appreciated or something.
Absolutely. I love that, Heather, because it is so true. All those hours of meeting, everyone on the state staff side have been here too. All of those documents, they cured those documents for us. They found that information. They helped us analyze that. And also, can't say it enough to all the folks who offered their own recommendations as well. I think that was incredibly helpful. It really helped to guide us into where there was possibilities to make these bigger recommendations. And so I absolutely agree. Heather, if you have a moment and you want to write just like a little line that you think could
Happy to.
Stick right in there, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Katrina.
I think Mary Ann's comment was in relation to the one that was just made, so I'll let her go first and then I can jump in.
Basically, I've been very inspired by all the agency folks that have locked arms with us to work on this. It makes me a little teary. Thank you. I've worked in for-profit for many, many years and then nonprofit since 2010, but I really feel like we're putting our back into it together. So thank you to all the agencies and all the people that spent so much time helping us get to the great result and to be able to communicate all this.
Yeah, I definitely have to echo some thanks for state staff and everybody who's given their time. It's been a ride. I don't want to say a wild ride because it hasn't been that wild, but it's been a ride, and an enjoyable one. I know that we sort of talked about this in one of the recommendations about the continuation of a body that is similar to this or something different. But I am sort of curious about sort of our feedback loop, and what prompted this is Representative Conrad's comments around, like, we're not entirely sure where it's going to land, what bill, who's going to carry it, etc. And I feel like while a lot of us will definitely have lobbyists in the building and be able to find that information out, it does feel kind of pertinent to get that information to this particular body, just to figure out if it's something that does move forward in this legislative session, or if it ends up getting punted because of other priorities. So I am curious, to our chair and other state staff, how do we do that without necessarily convening this group again? And is there a way to make sure that it happens?
Debbie, if our website is going to be up, can we put information on that?
Yes, we can. And we did get it confirmed that we are actually an official task force until the end of this calendar year. So we could also decide to pull ourselves back together for a conversation.
If it, and I hope I'm not stepping out of turn, but Representative Conrad is one of the legislators on this task force. Would it be possible for you to give us an update once you find out where everything lives and whether it's going to move forward this session for sure?
I lost my primary, so I won't be there.
Oh my
So
goodness, that's
yeah,
embarrassing. Oh, and this is recorded. I am so embarrassed. Sorry about
oh
that.
no, it's my loss is public record. It's all good. No,
Okay.
so yeah, that's part of why I punt a lot to Senator Campos and to some of the other folks, because
Okay.
I won't be able to carry it. So I'll be able to help develop it, and I'm working with NAO to ensure that we at least get something drafted. But then I've got to hand it off to somebody to champion throughout. So as we go forward with, depending on how public hearings or informational sessions go, I'm happy to testify and advocate, but I'll be doing it as a former representative, not a current one.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so sorry about that. Maybe hate to call you out, John, but Senator Campos, what you think?
I'm not going to commit the senator for anything, but we will have a conversation as a team and see kind of what the options are. We are feeling the crushing loss of Representative Conrad, so we're aware of the stakes, and we'll see what our options are.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say, I think for me, Katrina, sorry, Philip, but I'm really going to be relying on NAO a bit around like getting updates on where this process is. One thing that's good is that, well, now I'm worried, right? So if the task force is active until the end of the year, that means I can't talk to you all about what's happening with the next steps on the task force. Is that true? That can't be true, because the next steps are different than the task force. Come on. There's got to be a way for us to be able to talk to each other.
And that makes me think that we can't go to the NAO meeting because we've been told we shouldn't, right?
I think we shouldn't speak at the NAO meeting. Why can't we attend a public meeting? That doesn't seem legal. We can't
Well,
attend a
as
public
always,
meeting because
would
we were
love
on a
more
task
guidance.
force. That doesn't even make sense.
Would love more guidance to navigate the next couple months, considering that we won't have these meetings regularly, and we would like to see a bill or bills move forward.
I mean, I guess part of the benefit is if we are still a meeting, and we can use the DAF like communication channels to at least let people know. And if we need to pull together a meeting, we can, but that is a little bit frustrating.
Could we officially close the committee?
That's a great question. Do we have the power to say that we're done?
That's a Jonathan Grow question. I love that.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, Jonathan, any advice for us?
How would you phrase that question?
I think what I'm asking is, given that our report is complete, our executive summary is complete, our legislative deliverables are complete, even though the task force in the legislation was active until the end of the year, can we call it closed at the end of this meeting so that task force members can talk about the task force work from here on out?
In order to communicate, I think one thing you have to be careful of is the public meetings laws in terms of it. The task force still exists on paper and has a mandate to the end of the year, correct? So I think you want to avoid a situation where you're communicating, kind of formally closing it on paper in order to continue communicating after the fact, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
I'm wondering if I can call it to close as the co-chair.
Oh,
or
yeah.
does it have to stay open till the end of the calendar year?
I think if the mission has been fulfilled, the objectives have been achieved, recommendations are finalized and dispatched. Yes, if there's meetings after that, it's still within the under the umbrella of the task force and subject to public meetings laws and obligations. I don't know if that helps.
It does, because it means that that's the trade-off, right? If we say this is closed now, the task force's work is done, then
Yes,
I can't call DAS later and be like, hey, can you reconvene a new meeting? So that's the
right.
trade-off, is we won't be able to do that. And I feel like that's probably a perfectly fine trade-off, because I think at this point we could meet in community rather than meeting as the task force, and be more effective than maintaining the task force, because our objectives are complete here.
Yes,
I
yes,
make a
right.
motion that we take a vote and decide if we can end it at the end of our meeting today.
Okay.
Like disband or something.
So we are complete. We are done.
I second the motion.
Okay, so it has been moved that at the end of this meeting, when we close this meeting, the task force is going to be over. We will not be able to convene any additional meetings. If you support that, so that's the motion. We're closing the task force at the end of this meeting. We will not have any more task force meetings. That works for you. Please put a yes in the chat.
I cannot
Oh.
vote in the chat, but I would like to vote yes.
I also can't vote in the chat, but I also vote yes.
Oh, hello, I should vote. All right, 9:10. All right, that works. So we're going to call that our formal action at the end of this meeting. We did have a few more edits come in, so I'm going to jump back to our editing item on our agenda. So thank you, was it Tamara? And I'm so sorry that we had your organization name wrong. So we need to add the word center at the end. And then Heather dropped in for us a line to add to that page where we talk about all of the task force folks who are participating. The task force members appreciate the work, good thinking and openness of the agency staff to inform task force members about current processes, challenges, and workflows.
Maybe too many words. I'm totally open to editing it.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think we're looking for words of appreciation. It was a lot of good thinking, definitely openness to answer random questions.
I thought maybe it could go between the first and the second sentence, not section.
Can we change openness to collaboration?
Is there something better than good thinking? I was trying to not say recommendations because I didn't want it to look like state agency staff came up with all of this so that maybe it's
How
just
about
the work in collaboration. Oh, I'm sorry.
how
Go ahead.
about how about input? And then maybe take out work. Appreciate the input and collaboration of the agency staff to inform task
I
force
was
members about current. Yeah.
I would say the task force members appreciate the valuable input and collaborative partnership of the
That's
agency.
beautiful. I think that looks great. Head nods, thumbs up. Any other thoughts? All right, looks good. Thank you for that additional input. I think that's a great value add. Okay, so we're going to put that piece to bed. And now we're going to do a little bit of a closing activity. So normally, I was thinking about this being the last meeting, and normally I would just love a little bit more being with you all, right? Sharing over a meal, some sort of way of really kind of closing out what has been a lot of work over the past year. But absent us being able to be together and share real gifts, I would like to offer us an opportunity to share a little bit of gifts of the heart. So the way this round is going to go is I'll model first when it's passed to you. So no one's going to pass it to you, so I have to start it. So we're going to pass it to each other through an item of a gift. So for example, you're going to take a moment and share what this process has meant to you. What are the ups and downs? What are the goods and bads? What are you looking forward to? Anything that makes you feel like this is a nice closing remark that helps you kind of set this down and put it to bed. And then to pass it, you're going to pick a person. It can be a task force member. It can be, honestly, anybody here in the meeting, because we're all here together. You pick somebody, you can pick one of the agency staff, you can pick one of your fellow task force members, and you pass it on to them. And you say, I would like to pass this to, you say their name, and offer them a gift. And the gift might just be that your tomatoes always grow every season, right? Or that whenever that your ice cream never melts past your fingertips, like something to just like offer to that person a good well wish for their future. And that's how you'll pass it to the next person, and then they'll begin with sharing what their closing remarks are, what their kind of end of this process has been. And then they will offer a gift to another person and pass it along. It does mean that you can't offer a gift to someone who's already gotten a gift. And so just to keep it open and pass it around until we've had an opportunity to check in with everybody and give everybody a gift and hear everybody's closing remarks. And so I am going to start by just saying this has been a lot of work, and but it has been the kind of work that at the end of it, I feel like we actually have something really important to pass on. I think a lot of times these kind of conversations can stay really high level, that at the end of it, you're still like, but what does that mean? Right. And I feel like we have some of those things in our recommendations, but we also have a lot of things that are very tangible. Like, let's just start calculating COLA, right? That those things, like very specific, all the way to like a workforce board, which has a ton of questions still attached to what it can do, how it would be organized, who would be covered, right? So we have both those high level, but also those tangible. And that feels really, really good. At the end of the legislative session, when this bill was passed, the thing that I walked away with was we've clearly and we're clearly in agreement with many members of our community that we have a problem. We are absolutely not in agreement with what the solutions are, right? And my hope is coming out of this that we still share an understanding of what the issues are and how and that we need to address them. But now we also have a sense of what is possible and what can help us move forward. That this is about process improvement. And in my opinion, a lot of our conversations in government, in community, around things like accountability have become really synonymous with punishment. And how can we show people that they did it wrong? But what I heard here in this space and what I feel like we're delivering in this task force recommendation is a different a different understanding of accountability, which is process improvement. And that if we are continuing to improve together, that is real accountability. So thank you all for being here with me. I would like to offer a gift to Amy because Amy has been such a big partner for me in this work, and I just deeply appreciate you. And so, Amy, I would like to give you the gift of, let's see, what's a good one? I would like to give you the gift of your travel plans always being on time. And that anytime you try a new food, it's absolutely delicious. And so I pass that on to you, Amy, and I offer
Oh
you
my
the
gosh.
opportunity to go next.
I'm so honored. Thank you so much, Mercedes. It's truly been a pleasure to serve alongside you. You have just, your leadership astounds me sometimes, and just your forward thinking, your collaboration has been incredible. So I echo all those nice things. I mean, goodness, wow. Can I give a gift back to you, Mercedes? Can I give you the gift back? Because
Absolutely
no?
not.
Okay. Okay, let's see here. Who would I like to give a gift to? I would like to give a gift to my good friend Debbie Dennis. Debbie, I hope the sun always shines on your face. And let's see, what other good things could I wish for you? That the rain never soaks your feet. And I just appreciate you and your leadership, Debbie. I will pass to you.
Thank you, Amy. Wow, this is hard. The easy part is talking about the work we've done, and that was the collaboration. I think what I appreciated most is the task force members and the agency staff really were able to spend time digging in and really understanding the place that everyone comes to the table from, and sort of the why behind the reason things sometimes are the way they are, and then the collaborative thinking on how we could change. So all of that has been really inspiring to me. For the gift, let's see here. I will give a gift to Heather. I have always appreciated your thinking, Heather, and just have enjoyed getting to know you on this task force. And my wish for you is that whenever you visit the ocean, when you put your foot in, it is the perfect temperature. It's not too cold.
What an amazing gift. Thank you. That was so sweet, Debbie. I appreciate it. I will be honest, this was completely different than I thought this process was going to be. And at the beginning, I'm really not a process person. I'm a big picture person. So I just couldn't figure out how we were going to get somewhere when it felt like we weren't allowed to talk to each other. And we weren't allowed, like it was all about what we couldn't do. And I am just so profoundly proud to have been a part of this process because, wow, what a smart bunch of people, and so appreciative of Mercedes' leadership around. I've never been a part of something that's so efficient, effective, and inclusive with this many people and agencies. And it's just been really kind of profound and moving for me. So I've just been really honored. I would like to give a gift to Dolly. She impressed me so much at the beginning of this process with being so brave and asking hard questions like, hey, wait a minute, don't state agency staff have a voice in this too? And just good ideas. And I just appreciated your bravery in asking the questions. And I would like to give you the gift of when of relaxation and joy whenever you take time off. And I wish you time off frequently to recharge because we need to keep your energy up to keep doing the good work you're doing.
That is the most magical gift, and I wish my boss was on here to hear you say that out loud.
Let me
Thank you
send them
so
an
much.
email.
Okay. Uh, Thank you so much for including me in this task force. This is my first task force too, so for all of us newbies, I learned how to be quiet when I really like to talk. And that was hard for me, and it was a good growth. Um, I would like to actually give a gift, and I'm trying to see who's here and who hasn't gotten a gift, and that's hard for me. So maybe if you haven't received a gift, you could raise your hand so that I can just know. Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. I would like to give a gift to Helen Wong because I'm really curious about philanthropy because even though I work for the man, I would like to think of myself as a philanthropist. And so I'm really I feel like I learned some tips and tricks that are used at the next level, if you will, and I really appreciate that feedback. And so I want to give the gift to you of um, never having to wait in line ever again.
I don't even know how to receive that, Dolly. That is just amazing. Um, Sorry to bust your bubble a little bit. Philanthropy is still working for the man most of the time. Um, but we can talk about that after this meeting if you ever want to. Um, so here's what I would say about my experience. Truly, in the last 15 years, I never could have imagined a time where my weird knowledge of CFR 200 would be useful. um, and my many experiences in a nonprofit, both grant seeking and grant making entity would be taken seriously at a state government level to try to improve the experiences of our partners doing critical work. So I've been so inspired um, by hearing all of your experiences, your stories, the way you brought forth and we all worked through, differences in opinion really respectfully and beautifully, and all brought our own gifts to share every meeting, quite honestly. And one thing that stands out for me is how, in those 15 years is like, the drudgery, the bureaucracy, but really transforming that into something that is inspiring, both for us all together to try and make a difference for amazing colleagues and for the state, but also for other states. And we're not the first to do this. We learned a lot from other states, New York and Illinois and others. And I was actually just invited to come speak and attend a gathering in Washington State for King County for nonprofits trying to do something similar. And so we are inspiring others. And I want you all to know that and hold that and keep that. And I want to pass a gift to Philip. I don't know if I can, because is Philip like part of the task, like unofficially part of the task force? I don't know how many links he sent to me and others, just being like, hey, here's that thing you wanted again. And reminding us of all this good work, reminding us that we didn't have to start from scratch, all of the research happening alongside the work of the task force. And it's just kind of that unsung everyday work that many of us do that just supports us coming up with a product that is greater than the individual parts. So what I want to gift to Philip is really cozy drinks on crisp days, and really good Chinese food, specifically anytime you want it. I don't know if Philip's allowed to
Yeah.
talk.
I would love for Philip to be able to participate and just throw it back to someone else. Tell us what it's been like for you, Philip, and offer a gift.
Oh,
Amy,
hey,
can you unmute him?
the mic actually works. Hey, that caught me by surprise. Thank you very
It's an
much,
extra gift for you.
fellas. Um, it's it's been a pleasure working with the task force. I think NAO is very excited about the work and the recommendations that the task force put in. We're pretty excited about 2025 and beyond. And I can't say enough about, well, I just can't say enough about Mercedes. I know you've already been, uh, addressed, but I'll just say that it's been a blessing and a privilege and an honor to work side by side with you in this capacity and also on the NAO board. In terms of like another member, I can't help but to tip my hat off to Rep. Conrad, who has been a steadfast sort of champion and someone who's willing to roll up his sleeves and do whatever it takes to get a good outcome. And it's been great to work with you, Rep. Conrad. I feel like you've always been accessible, and that the fact that you're willing to come back next session, even though you won't be elected, that to help get the recommendations passed means just how much committed you are to what this task force put together. So if I were to give a gift to you, Rep. Conrad, I would probably give you a pair of running shoes because we'd love to see you back in the state capitol.
That's awesome, Philip. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really do. And, I've really enjoyed this task force. I've enjoyed the conversations, and I've enjoyed just the way that everybody has come together and had productive conversations on some difficult topics, vetted through some different ideas, some different aspects, and it's come together in a great report. And all the work that everybody does, from everybody that works in a nonprofit in whatever sector you work in, your work histories, and then as was mentioned, all the state agencies that participated. To me, this really is how it should work and should function. Is everybody coming together, working on that solution coming up, and seeing where we go from here. And it has been a wonderful experience for me, and I appreciate everybody in the work that you've done and all the brain power that you put into it to make this happen. So this is a result of you guys, and I think everybody should hopefully go to bed with a smile on your face tonight because of what you've done, what you've been able to accomplish, and we go forward from here. So with that, Felicita, I don't remember if anybody's given you one, but I'll tell you that, I've greatly appreciated, listening to a lot of your comments, a lot of your thoughts, a lot of your brain power. And so I'm not really good with giving the gifts. So I just hope that you spend your day today with a smile on your face the whole day. If nothing else, have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. So I will pass it on to you, and hopefully it goes well for you today.
Thank you, Rep. Conrad. So much appreciation. So much has already been said. So I feel like I could just press repeat on everybody. I'm going to cheat. And I can't say close this without giving major props to Mercedes. And I refuse to. So major props to Mercedes and her leadership and the time that she spent doing this, all the pre-work, all the post-work. I mean, it is phenomenal, Mercedes. You are phenomenal. So all the good things for you. Immense appreciation to all the staff. I feel like there has just been this like willingness and thoughtfulness around being solution oriented. And I think what could have been a super, super like combative group instead became something that really wanted to see change for the benefit of the most unappreciated sector. And it's just so much appreciation and thankfulness for all the agency staff who came willing to rethink things, to come willing to share. And I'll share that I shared these drafts, the the draft recommendations with a lobbyist, and she was saying that, you know, she looks at these types of recommendations a lot, and these were the most specific ones she had ever seen. And that's really a testament to thoughtful conversation, to people who came willing to do the work, and to agencies that were really transparent. And just, again, I'm just repeating myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will give cut flowers that never wilt to Marianne for her enthusiasm, for her thoughtfulness, for her passionate commitment to the sector. And yes, thank you, Marianne, for your leadership and you being a part of this group.
Thank you so much. This has meant so much to me. I probably won't spend many more years working, but I wanted to say, for me, this all started. I just wanted to say this all started and stopped and continues with NAO. And thank you so much for all the guidance you've given us. Thank you, Mercedes, for listening to all of us and giving us all input. And the listening sessions were amazing, to actually take the time to meet where we couldn't do the whole group, but we could do 2 or 3 at a time. And for me, the hardest part is, you know, I have to have trust and believe that this is going to go forward and mean something, but we'll see. And so that's the hard part, because I want immediate satisfaction, right? But I wanted to read you a little quote, and that is, the smallest act of kindness is worth more than the grandest intentions. So I think we have all, in the kindest of ways, thought about, for me, the big one that's now percolating through St. Vincent de Paul is the thought of risk management versus actually serving who you're serving, and how you balance that, and how you get some give so that you can give iPads and phones to people who may destroy them or lose them, but you can connect people. And so that's the most valuable thing I got of this. And I would like to pass this to Katrina with a gift. And the gift is a basket with a loaf of fresh milk bread, heirloom tomatoes from my garden, and a quart of Duke's mayonnaise.
Oh, thanks. That sounds good. Tomato sandwiches, here we come. Um, all right. Have to echo so much. Thanks. So much thanks to everyone for a really great task force, really inspiring work. I know Mercedes, we're not supposed to give gifts who already have give gifts, but I am going to take some time to give some specific thanks to both you for really setting the bar high for what task force chairmanship really looks like. And I really appreciate all of your work during, post, and pre-task force. I am so inspired and learned a lot from you during this process. So just want to echo the thanks that's already been given to you. And then also to Philip at NAL, like just the individualized support that you gave us without violating any rules very carefully in doing this work and helping us learn background and understand what's going on sort of in the larger no, I shouldn't say scheme, the larger like country and different things that we can learn from, all the resources that we could access. It was really incredibly helpful and informative. So I just want to say thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to our legal team. I don't know if anybody's still here that represents them, but early on, I very clearly remember some specific guidance that they gave us to help access those nuances with the new law. And that was really challenging. And I can only imagine what it must be like to be the messenger to say, sorry, this looks like something you really don't want, but I'm going to give you the truth anyway. So, and then also just helping guide us through this entire process, even in the close, just like, well, here's what you're allowed to do, here's what you're not. Lawyers, I feel like they have it tough. So I have to say thanks to them as well. And kudos to everybody for their incredible work and comments for all of this. I'm not quite sure who has gotten a gift and who hasn't. I've been trying to keep track, but I can't. So who hasn't? If you
Yeah,
could please raise
maybe,
your hand, I'd appreciate it.
yeah, maybe let's use the raise hand function and leave it up if you want to participate before we close.
How
Okay.
And
about
then we'll just have
Tamara?
a little list.
Tamara
Okay,
Henderson.
Tamara, thank you so much. So, I'm also not all that great at the gifts portion, but I hope that uh, as we go into this um, fall and winter season, that you have a really, really healthful season instead of catching all the nasty germs that we tend to get. I really hope that it goes well for you. And if for some reason that doesn't happen, that whatever you get is quick, doesn't require a whole bunch of stuff, and that it doesn't feel as bad as it might typically go.
Thank you so much, Katrina. Excuse me, and I know it doesn't sound like I'm feeling that well, but I'm fine. It's just the smoke from our powwow. We actually had some people have to call in sick that I'm still kind of recovering. And I'm just so grateful for this group. I'm sorry, my camera's mostly been off. I'm at my mom's house actually due to a medical emergency. So Katrina, you have no idea how like perfect that is. So I want to first just thank everybody in this group and how smart and wonderful everybody is. Really helped me. I expected to be a little more participatory and vocal, but we've had a really, really horrible summer, to be honest. We had a tough tragedy at the very beginning that kind of slid from there. And it just feels like it keeps happening. So I can't say more. I mean, so much how much the confidence of this group really inspired me to say it's okay to step back this time and to just listen and say anything if you need to. And I've still learned so much and absorbed so much that it's just been really, really great to be around so many wonderful, smart, articulate people. So thank you all for your hard work. I felt like I was watching some of the hard work at times and participating when I could. And this group gave me the grace to do that. So I'm really grateful for that. Similar to Mercedes, I also want to share, I feel like we did such amazing work and we have this great product. And also there's still so much more work to do, right? Like even when I looked at the reporting, I really kept going. I don't know if you noticed this, Mercedes, but I think you did because you paused at one point. I kept coming off mute and then remuting because I really felt like the reporting, I wish it was a little bit stronger in terms of, I think it says something like, within reason or something like that, instead of like, we got to have report templates before we're ever required to start tracking, right? Before the term ever starts. So just as an example, I think there's still plenty of work for us to do. And I look forward to being more participatory in some of that. So again, just great gratitude to Mercedes for everything that you've done. Your leadership has been tremendous, and I'm so grateful. You as well, Marianne. Your excitement has been lovely. Um, Debbie, I have to give you a gift in the chat. I don't want to totally break the rules, so I'll give you a gift in the chat. And you might be able to see part of the reason I've left my camera off is because one, it's the wrong view, but then two, when I told my mom, all that matters when I come to your house is the background, she put a bunch of pictures of me rodeoing as a kid in there. I was like, oh, that was not what I was going for. uh, so all of that being said, I want to give a gift actually to Kai, who's still with us. Kai, every time you presented and spoke, I felt like you had a lot of amazing energy along with some educational material, and that was really inspiring for me. I love seeing people excited and passionate about their work. The gift that I would give to you is that you would have plants that never die. I'm a little bit of a brown thumb, and that when you're in the wilderness, you can really enjoy everything that Oregon has to offer.
Well, that was very kind. I don't know if I'm supposed to speak. Thank you. I have construction going on right now, so you might hear drills. Uh, that was very kind. I actually have a ton of dead plants in my backyard. So much so that I have artificial turf. Um, very kind of you. I would like to give a gift to Amy, who has been coordinating everything and making sure that we were on task, especially on the staff side of this. So, Amy, my gift to you is excellent barbecue whenever you want it with the right sweetness level on the barbecue sauce, because that makes the difference. So thank you all for everything you've done.
Goodness, thank you, Kai. That was very generous. I love that. You've been great partners to work with too, Kai, your agency. So thank you for all the hard work that you've done and collaboration and always being responsive. I've already received a gift before, so Mercedes, I don't know, should I give someone else a gift, or how do you think we should move forward?
Yeah, let's just check and see of the folks who are still here, if you would like to participate, if you could put your hand up and then Amy can pass it to you and we can finish it out. Or if we have come to the close loop, and we can formally close. I don't see anyone's
Technically,
hand
you
going.
didn't get a gift.
I got
So
a
for
10.
that,
What are you talking about? I
you
got a
got
gift from like
kudos. You didn't get a
everybody.
gift.
All right. Well, then, if there's no one else who wants to go, Amy, I will let you make it full circle and send it right back to me.
Okay, very good. I will send it right back to you with a gift. Let's see, what do I wish for you, Mercedes? I wish you joy and peace and happiness. I wish that you are happy every day as you wake up and as you go to sleep, as you finish your days, that happiness fills your life.
Thank you so much. That is very appreciated. Thank you for the extra gift in the chat, Dolly. Appreciated.
I can't write in the chat, Mercedes, but I want to gift you evergreen light. Evergreen, you just drive up and it doesn't matter if it just changed to red, it's green.
I appreciate that a lot because I am a full-time bus rider. So all of me and my bus riding friends will really appreciate being on time. All right. Well, I think that formally brings us to the close, you all. Thank you all for participating in that. I know that kind of thing can take a while, but I felt like great energy the whole way through. Thank you all so much for all of your time and energy here. This feels like a good close. We've made our vote. This is our last formal meeting. Task force, is complete. So the hard part's done. Now it's time for the hard part. And so we'll stay in touch. I'll see you all out in community. We'll keep doing wonderful things. And I think that's all. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody.